Unknown Fate puts the player into the shoes of a man known as Richard, who passes seamlessly from the real world into a surreal universe unlike any other. He is completely plagued by amnesia and has no recollection of who he is, but as you progress through the game you soon come to realise that the world around you has actually been created by Richard's lost memories. Ultimately, the aim of the experience is to guide Richard through the environments in the hopes of retrieving his past. Now on the surface, the premise sounds quite intriguing, but in all honesty we felt that the story needed a bit more direction and finality. It can get quite bizarre at points, with events popping up out of nowhere in nonsensical ways, resulting in a narrative that is unfortunately a bit tricky to follow, which is a shame due to the intriguing introduction of the game. Unknown Fate is essentially a narrative-focused, first-person experience with an emphasis on puzzles and exploration. The player is bestowed with a device known as the Artifact that grants you several abilities such as being able to shoot bursts of energy, move certain objects, and even slow down time. The Artifact is a huge part of the experience, with a lot of the game's puzzles revolving around its use. It really becomes essential to understand its various functions in order to advance comfortably. But that's not to say that Unknown Fate is incredibly difficult, with most of the puzzles being quite straightforward in nature. The real challenge comes from the several platforming elements that are incorporated into the experience, which quite honestly can become slightly frustrating at times, but never to the point of complete and utter despair. It becomes clear quite early on that Unknown Fate is primarily a game with a focus on its story, and that in no way is a bad thing. The main objective that propels the experience forward is the acquisition of red shards that are scattered throughout the world. These shards serve as Richard's lost memories, and once collected, the player is transported to a specific point in Richard's life. Now some of these memories are interactive, but usually amount to just walking about. It would be nice to see this aspect of the experience fleshed out a bit more. Perhaps presenting the memories in a more effective fashion would have helped players connect to the overall narrative in a more meaningful way. This is where Unknown Fate really comes into its own. The world that has been crafted by Marslit Games is incredibly rich and unsettling. Each environment has a strange, disturbing feel to it that resonates throughout the entire experience. Huge flying beasts, disturbing monsters and obstacles litter the dreamscape that results in some true wow moments whilst exploring. The visuals manage to convey the troubled mind of Richard in a way that is truly befitting of its premise and ties in nicely to the overall narrative. However, it's not all whistles and rainbows, as unfortunately the hardware seems to have trouble keeping up with the action, resulting in a frame rate that is quite choppy in both handheld and docked mode, albeit slightly better in docked. It's not a deal breaker, but does slightly retract from what otherwise is a pleasant world to explore and experience. As mentioned earlier, it becomes clear that Unknown Fate has a focus on its narrative, which unfortunately is one of the weaker aspects of the experience. It's a game that feels like it doesn't know what it wants to be. The solid puzzle aspects should have taken center stage, which quite honestly carried the experience for us. If you're compelled by mysterious narratives or fancy something completely left field, I'd say you would enjoy the journey offered by Unknown Fate, but if you're on the fence about picking it up, we'd recommend waiting and perhaps picking it up on sale in the future.